Welcome to Everyday Martial Artist, a weekly podcast where you'll join me, Brian Doucette, as I interview a different martial artist each episode and hear their story. Some guests you may have heard of, and some you probably haven't. Be sure to subscribe where all your favorite podcasts are available. Also visit our website at everydaymartialartist.com. If you're listening for a specific interview, I sure hope you'll stay and check out the other episodes. A very special thank you to Topher Williams for our custom theme music. And now, the newest episode of Everyday Martial Artist. Everyday Martial Artist is brought to you by KOOnline.com for all your martial arts needs. Sparring and safety gear, rank belts, uniforms, weapons, patches, and more. Wholesale supplies made by martial artists for martial artists. Visit us today at ko-online.com. Hello and welcome to Everyday Martial Artist. I'm your host, Brian Doucette, and as we do every week, we're joined by a brand new guest talking about their life and their journey throughout the world of martial arts. My guest today is a certified 4th-degree black belt and has over 15 years of martial arts experience. Throughout his martial arts career, he's been a Junior Nationals Gold Medalist, a Minnesota, Oregon, and Washington Gold Medalist, and a national level competitor and coach. He's the owner and head instructor of Lee's Black Belt Academy in Rogers, Minnesota. He has a BA in economics and East Asian languages. And outside of martial arts, he enjoys traveling, CrossFit, cooking, coaching, and the Oregon Ducks. Please welcome my guest today, Mr. Matthew Lee. How are you doing today, sir?
I'm good. I wasn't expecting that great of an introduction, to be honest.
That's one thing I really put a little time into is the intro. I've had a few people actually like, can I get that from my voicemail? I'm like, seriously?
Oh, that was... yeah, well, I'm a little speechless. Yeah.
Well, I'm looking forward to this. Just for a little background for the listeners, how we kind of met. I just happened to be on a family vacation down in the Twin Cities area, and we stayed in a hotel in Rogers, and your school happened to be across the street. And I had free time that Saturday morning. I'm like, I'm just going to go over and see if there's a class. And I popped in to watch and chatted a little bit. And I'm like, I love your style. I love the way you teach, and I enjoyed talking to you. I'm like, I want to do an interview. So I'm glad we're doing this. I'm excited to learn more about you.
Yeah, that Saturday morning is really just where, like, my adult students and my coaches, it came from, literally, I just wanted to work out. I didn't necessarily want to teach a class.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it started with like two people. His name is Mr. Hensel. He's been part of my school since the beginning.
Nice.
And literally, it's now, like on a given Sunday or Saturday, it's, I don't know, like 26 people. And
yeah, it was pretty full when I was there.
Yeah. And, I think typically I was a little caught off guard with you too. Like most people don't stay, right? Yeah. It's just Taekwondo. And, unless you know it, it's kind of boring, right? It's just repetitive. I think they're kicking, right? To the layman, it's like, what is a cut kick? Is that a punch? What type of punch? So the fact that you stayed for the whole time, I was a little like, okay. And then obviously you had like a Taekwondo shirt on. So, but to apologize, I necessarily wasn't the most jovial person. I was a little too much in my focus mode. So
you were fine. And I had a few of the students I chatted with too, and they said very good things about you. And I'm like, yeah, I definitely want to talk to this guy. He seems really interesting. So I'm glad.
Cool. That's cool. Yeah.
What we like to do with all my guests, I want to go back. I mentioned, over 15 years of experience, but I want to go back to the very beginning. I want to know where that first interest came from, that first spark that kind of kicked off your martial arts journey.
Oh, man. I was 6. My brother and I would watch Bruce Lee movies like any other, I'm 87, so that's my birth year. So I'm 37. I was born in 1987. So, like TV was cooler then. And I just remember seeing Bruce Lee Enter the Dragon on TV. Obviously I rented every movie you can. Still to this day, my favorite movie regarding martial arts or specifically Taekwondo would be Best of the Best.
Nice.
Right? Like, it hurts me when my students don't know it.
I've actually had Simon Rhee on the show, so.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah. Wow. Okay. Yeah. That's a big deal.
Yep.
And, I don't necessarily remember the spark. I just remember asking my dad, do we need to do lessons? And at that time, I was also a heavy set kid. Mm-hmm. And so just get me moving, we just picked martial arts, like to give a little bit of background, my dad's from Singapore and my mom's from Indonesia. And, I just kind of felt an affinity to kind of know martial arts. I don't really have a good answer to it, but then just we should try it. It didn't have to be any martial art. It's just like just like any of I assume any of your other guests, right? Like it just happened to be a local martial arts school, and it kind of worked out.
Yeah.
I actually did not like Taekwondo.
Really?
I didn't. No, I was scared. I did start at 6, but after the trial, I chickened out. It was loud. It smelled like sweat. At the time, right?
Yeah.
Like in the 90s, mats came later.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was carpeted and it smelled like sweat. And everyone was yelling. And I actually chickened out. My brother continued, and then he got his yellow belt. And then I just kind of went, okay, I can do this.
Nice.
And that's kind of the beginning. I mean, I didn't really take it serious at that age.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if anyone really does. You're just a kid at that time, and I just kept going. I don't really have a good answer to that.
That's actually a really good answer. Now, was this in Eugene?
It was in Eugene, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, my parents went to the University of Oregon, and then when they graduated, they ended up staying. So, I grew up in Eugene. I went to school at South Eugene. If you have any Oregonian listeners, go Ducks. So, yeah, I went to South Eugene. I did IHS, International High School. So I did the IB International Baccalaureate program. And then, I just kept doing Taekwondo. That's it in a nutshell.
Okay. And first of all, how long did you, that first school you joined, how long did you stay at that school?
Oh, I don't know, man. I don't know. Maybe 5 or 6 years.
Oh, wow. Okay. And I'm assuming then you got involved in the competition at a fairly young age while you were there?
Kind of. I did. I actually didn't take it more serious till I was like in my teens.
Okay.
To be honest, mm-hmm. I was a little bit of a late bloomer when it came to competing.
Okay.
Yeah.
What was that at the next school then, or was this later at the same school?
It was at a different school.
What led to that next school? Kind of what was that the one
to
you,
be honest,
you
like
chose?
One of my friends, I didn't know. Like to be honest, I didn't know about competition
mm-hmm.
As a kid. I mean, obviously we do some tournaments here and there.
Yeah.
But I didn't know the greater ocean at the time. And one of my friends, she went to nationals, and I'm like, holy, can you do that? And then that was kind of it, and it just kind of got inspired to do it. It's not necessarily like I had this epiphany
mm-hmm.
that I would be a champion. I just got really inspired by that person. I was like, well, if they can do it, I can do it.
Do you remember your first ever tournament?
Yeah, can you swear on this?
Yeah, you can. It's okay.
Okay, I got my ass kicked, dude. I got ass kicked by a girl.
Really?
Oh,
wow.
Man, yeah, dude. I was not great. I just remember running. Like, how like I don't know if your listeners do Olympic style, but we
mm-hmm.
we tend to wear, at that age, you tend to look like the Michelin Man.
Yep.
Right? There's more gear than person.
Yeah.
Right? And so it's really difficult to get hurt.
Can't bend your legs, can't bend your arms
right,
because the pads are so big. Yep.
Right. And so that was me. And I think I underestimated the girl because I was a dumb boy. There you go. Right. So, I mean, there's your life lesson right there.
That's kind of
cool. Yeah, that was, it was terrible. There's no way to put it. Yeah.
Hey, my first tournament ever, my only tournament, I was never much for competition myself. So my one and only tournament, I was 18 years old, and I actually got my headgear kicked clean off.
Oh, so, okay.
Yeah, all right. Yeah, someone threw a perfect backspin, took the headgear off. I was like, whoa.
Hey, man, it happens, right?
Yes. Yep.
I mean, looking back on it, I think the more important life lesson is that you did it.
Yes.
It's hard because, I have a hard time with competition because we kind of dictate the success because of the scoreboard. And I get it. It's a really black and white thing. You win or you lose. But it really, in my head, it really kind of conflicts with martial arts life lessons. I tell my students, I really don't care if you can kick and punch well. I know it sounds weird coming from a Taekwondo instructor, but I'm more concerned about, did you listen to your mom the first time when she asked you to take out the trash?
Nice.
Right? Did you? The example I use a lot with my students is, if I have straight A's and I still steal at the store, is that okay? And obviously the answer is no, it's not. But my point is, all that stuff that we talk about with IQ is great, but really what martial arts, I think, or at least in my school, we talk about is EQ, emotional quotient, a lot.
Nice.
And that decision making is probably a better thing we need to focus than, if you can do a high side kick or a double knife hand or a spinning back kick. I do teach that. I'm not questioning that I don't.
Right.
But, I don't know if I'm preparing you for life, if I'm just teaching you how to back kick.
Right.
That
makes perfect sense. And I love that thought process, because I've told a few people this. My current instructor, who I've been with for 30 years now, whenever, and all three of my kids went through this, whenever they had a test coming up, he would send home a permission slip to the parents, and they had 2 questions. They had to answer yes to both of them, or the kids didn't get the test. It said, have I been doing well in school, and have I been respectful at home? If either one was a no, they don't get to test. So I love that.
I'm 37, so I'm still a young fool. I still have a lot of growing to do. And, I noticed that when I started the school, my students could kick and punch well, but they couldn't engage well. And, as an educator, I know that in martial arts, we all have chief master this or senior master that. And at the end of the day, I really just think I'm an educator, a more general term.
Right.
And if we're not engaging well, that makes for a really bad classroom culture.
Yeah.
It essentially becomes individuals coming to class and they happen to be there at the same time. And I kind of knew this is not going to be a place that people are going to want to learn. Regardless of the subject, right? It could be karate, it could have been baking, it could have been baseball. But I just noticed that, and I had to make some changes in my culture. And we started with public speaking.
Nice.
So we actually started teaching them improv.
Oh, wow. That's cool.
Yeah. Legitimately, everyone gets really embarrassed, right? Public speaking is really difficult. I think it's as difficult as competing. When you are at work and you have to get ready for a presentation, you kind of go, oh shit, I need to prepare. Right? That's the exact same gut feeling that competition brings.
Right.
And I was just like, you know what? We probably need to strip each other of that social pressure. So why not just do improv and make fun of each other? Not in that sense of we're putting down each other, but we're laughing with each other and we're all messing up together.
That's actually really cool.
Yeah, no, I just feel like martial arts has a little too much dogma sometimes. And I think traditions have their extent. I think respect is a great thing, but I also view it kind of like technology where, we're doing this over a smartphone. If this was the 90s, it would be obviously on a corded phone.
Yeah.
And, if I owed you a bill, I would have you fax me it. But nowadays, no one even knows what a fax is.
Exactly.
And so that's kind of how I view my teaching. The other analogy I use a lot at my school is some of the parents used to do Taekwondo and then they came back, right? Or some sort of martial art in their childhood. And I know things have changed. And the way I usually view it is how some of my 5th and 6th graders, I probably can't do their homework, right? I don't know about parents out there in podcast land, but when I see their homework, I know it, but I can do it the way I was taught.
Yeah.
And then the kid would correct. And then the kid would say, well, Mr. Johnson didn't tell me it was this way. And then when I hear that, I go, oh, I legitimately have to relearn this. And that's how I kind of view Taekwondo or martial arts, is that it's always evolving and I can get along with it, or I can be stubborn and dig my emotional heels in the ground and I get nowhere.
Right. I like it. That's cool.
Yeah.
So what drew you to the teaching side of martial arts?
To be honest with you, I don't know. I've had in my competing a lot, I've blown both my knees out. So I've had bilateral ACL tears and I've broken my fibula. I've also had the casual dings that every person's gotten, a bruised rib, a kick to the jaw. But, I was in my early 20s and I blew my knee out in practice. And then my coach at the time just asked, hey, since you're not competing, do you want to coach? And I was this clueless 24-year-old, 24, 25-year-old. And I just said, I guess so. And it just I just kept helping. I don't really have I'm not necessarily the most mindful person in the moment. I'm really mindful after.
Yeah.
And it just kind of worked out. I remember I was helping him out at Nationals and he just said, hey, can you coach so-and-so? And I said, okay, I guess so. You really want me to, in my head, I said, do you really want me to do this? And I said, all right, well, let's just take the opportunity. And then the kid did well for his first time. And then my coach at the time said, hey, have you thought of opening a school? And I kind of said, I guess so. And, my degree is in econ. So at that time I was working for banking and the school I went to, Beloit College, we really worked on. To me, my viewpoint was when you become a senior, it's either you go to grad school or you go change the world. And I didn't either. So, I don't know. I talked to my brother about it and we put a plan together. And then, I had to convince my parents. That was the hardest part.
I can imagine. Yeah.
This has probably been the scariest thing I've ever done. I didn't grow up with entrepreneurs around me.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I remember my brother and I putting a business plan together and this is me typing it out and just looking at the numbers and just telling him, my brother's name is Tim. And I just remember telling my brother, Tim, this is a lot of money. And he's like, it's okay. It's just numbers on a laptop. You'll be okay right now. I remember being that deathly afraid. This is at the time I was thinking about going back to grad school. I was in my I had my quarter life crisis essentially.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what ended up happening was the school. And yeah.
Was your first school the one in Minnesota or did you have one before that?
No, this is in Minnesota.
Okay.
This is in Minnesota.
Okay.
Yeah. And it ended up being at Rogers. I had no idea where Rogers was. If any of your listeners are familiar with the Twin Cities, I only knew the Twin Cities. I didn't know the existing suburbs. And so when Rogers was proposed, there's a point, and now if you have Minnesota listeners, they're going to really giggle.
Mm-hmm.
So we went on 94 and it's past Maple Grove. And then there's this dead zone of 5 to 6, 7 miles where there's nothing. And then there's a Cabela's. And I went, oh my Lord, I am not in Kansas anymore. And I just remember thinking to myself, what have I done? In my head, Minnesota ended with, have you ever read the book Where the Sidewalk Ends?
Oh, Shel Silverstein. Love it.
Right, yes. Correct. I thought Minnesota ended when Maple Grove and the 94 loop ended. Okay. So when I went there, it was holy shit, what have I done? I don't know anything. I didn't know jack, to be honest. I mean, I was as lost as anyone.
Mm-hmm.
I remember just waking up, at the beginning, just waking up in a cold sweat at night and thinking I just threw my life away.
Wow.
I was just that deathly afraid. I think it's really rooted in insecurity that I didn't know if this was going to work out or not.
Did you remember the first day you opened and how many students showed up the first day?
Yeah. One. Yeah, I remember that vividly. It was one.
Wow.
It was one, and I was a dumbass, right? I didn't know anything about commercial locks, so I didn't know you had to push it in. And so, you had to turn the key, push the lock in, and that's what secures the lock from not coming in.
Mm-hmm.
And I go to my car, and I hear a click, and I go, oh, shit. I locked myself out. Right? I've just put a ton of money into this. I'm 26. And 26-year-olds aren't always the greatest thinkers in the world.
Yeah.
And I have this one kid coming, and I have 40 minutes to get myself into my school. So I had to, luckily on my phone, I remember the locksmith made me pay an extra $100 for the emergency fee.
Dang.
And they didn't even come till after the class, right? And I didn't have, I just biffed it that day. I remember thinking, what the hell have you done?
Wow.
I still remember thinking to myself, like, maybe I could get my job back. Right? Because it was
Yep.
secure, right?
Yeah.
At that time, I just, I started at the company. Just recently got promoted. And I was like, okay, this is actually kind of cool. And then I throw this for Taekwondo. What the hell are you thinking? It didn't seem logical, but like looking back on it, if anything, to your listeners, if they really, I don't know, just believe in themselves, magic can happen. I'm not saying I'm, any of your other like really famous guests, but to me, this is kind of my piece of the paradise.
Mm-hmm.
It's not always perfect, but it really fulfills my soul.
How long did it take before you thought to yourself, maybe this is working? Maybe I can do this for a living?
Oh man, I'd say, okay, month 3, we broke even. Like the
Okay.
school broke even.
Nice.
And then month 6, I was like, oh man, I have enough to eat I have enough not to just eat ramen. So, in retrospect, 6 months for an entrepreneur to make a profit, or at least know that they're not going to suffer.
Yeah.
Yeah, right? It's like, okay, this is kind of cool. All right.
That's pretty good.
And I just haven't looked back, And, at the time, I should also mention this. My brother and I, at the time when I started the school in 2013, my brother was going through a divorce. And I look back on it as like my brother and I kind of saved each other when we just had some really difficult life changes.
Mm-hmm. So
I really do owe my brother a lot of credit for being my emotional support when I just didn't know what I was doing.
Mm-hmm.
I owe him a lot. Like as a younger brother, obviously I've always looked at my brother as someone, as a protector,
Mm-hmm.
or help me understand life. And he just really helped me at that moment of insecurity. I mean, I was deep in the wall of, is this really going to work? And that's kind of it. That's kind of the beginning. Yeah. Yeah.
Think back to maybe that very first time you coached a student to now. You've been running your school over a decade, gone through a lot of students. Over all those years, what do you think has changed the most about your teaching style?
I would say my coaching style, my teaching style, I'm calmer.
Okay.
I've made a lot of mistakes, that's just the truth of the matter. Mm-hmm. I kind of view this, I'm not saying it's a one-to-one analogy or that's apples to apples, but it's kind of like parenting, where it's like it kind of works and it kind of doesn't, and you just kind of go with what works at the time. You do a lot of reflection and hopefully it works out.
Yeah.
Like I do remember, hopefully she listens to this. I don't know if she will, but my first student, I remember her. I mean, I used to do a ton of things for free, right? Just to get my name out into the community. And I literally emailed everyone in the school district. And there was a person, the cultural liaison of the area school district. And she's like, well, I don't really have a class, but there's this thing called Japan Day. We'll just say Taekwondo is from Korea and Korea is by Japan. Like we basically made up something.
Okay.
Like it didn't, like it doesn't work, right? But she was trying to give me an opportunity. I met her and we just kind of spitballed some ideas. And look, I'm really grateful she did. Mm-hmm. And I remember this one girl, her name is Ava. She was probably the first student that really kind of gravitated to my school. Okay. And I remember her doing my station. We called it Taekwondo, which was kind of karate. I just remember her really trying hard. And I remember afterwards, I was like, man, I really hope she actually takes my class. And I'm walking down. The local elementary has 2 levels. I remember talking to the cultural liaison, hey, thank you so much for helping me out, giving me this opportunity. And I happened to run into Ava on the stairs. We had a little bit of a conversation. I remember, man, I really hope she ends up staying or ends up finding me.
Yeah.
And then 2-3 months later, she does. And cool. She stayed with me for 10 years.
Wow. That's awesome.
She's now a freshman or sophomore. Sorry. Jeez. Holy cow. It's been that long. I feel old, man. She's a sophomore at the University of Minnesota.
Nice. And
yeah, she was kind of the first one to really kind of buy into what I think Taekwondo can offer you. A sense of community, a sense of accomplishment, mm-hmm. and more importantly, empowerment. But an empowerment's going to come from the people around you too, right? after listening to some of your podcasts, I know like there's a lot of martial arts this and boxing that, or the style of this and the style of that. And I don't really care. I just happen to do Taekwondo. But I do think, it's more about the teacher than the content.
Yes.
The way I view it is going back to high school, you had some really shitty teachers that you were like, they clearly did not care. And then there's the teachers that you don't even remember the content they taught you, but you just remember them.
Yes.
And so that's kind of my goal as a teacher, is to do that. And I still remember some of my really fondest teachers. And I couldn't tell you on like January 12th, what did they exactly teach me? I don't. But I do remember like, man, I really like that person. They really brought the subject to life. And that's kind of what I try and do my best. I'm not great at it. I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
There's definitely days where I've caused a tornado in my school that wasn't necessary, for sure.
Nice.
And I definitely had to reflect on that. Those days are not great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I get that. Yeah. I want to talk a little bit about your teaching style. And one thing that I noticed when I was watching that really impressed me, because a lot of people, especially when you hear Olympic style Taekwondo, anyone who watches the Olympics, a lot of the complaints I hear from people is there's no punching. It's 99% kicks. And one thing I noticed with that class you had, you were focusing a lot on punching techniques. And I loved that. What led to that? Seriously, it's very impressive, because not a lot of Taekwondo instructors do that.
I really can't. A lot of it is just scouting on what's scoring at nationals or any of the other tournaments. And I just kind of noticed punches were getting scored a lot,
really?
And it's kind of been a recent trend. And,
Nice.
For me, I'm not great at it. I'm not Juan Marino, I respect that man so much.
He's been on the show too, so
yeah, exactly. Yeah. Right. I've heard him talk at lengths on different podcasts.
Yeah,
and hopefully I will have half of what he is able to see and view and predict. And he's amazing. And I just try to do my best to kind of figure out what's ahead. So that I can help prepare my students. I'm not great at it. Mm-hmm. It takes a lot of research, a lot of, my wife would call it goofing off on YouTube, but, that's the only time, really, to be honest. Like, we just came back from nationals when you met me, and I'm like, you know what? Maybe we should be focusing on punch. They were scoring a lot, and that was really just, in a nutshell, was that.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I was going to say, hopefully we'll start to see that in the Olympics now, too.
Sure. I don't know. I was talking to one of the referees at a tournament just now, like Grandmaster Chase, and she was just kind of thinking, I heard the rumor mill was that, in the Olympics that they were trying to tell people not to score as much punches. But I don't know, right? I just try and have an educated guess on what's going to happen. And I just kind of go with it. It's not necessarily that I'm always right. It's just that I'm always willing to adapt.
Yeah.
Like hypothetically, this next tournament, no one scores a punch. Well, then shit, I got to scrap that. Right. Yeah. Or we're not going to, or, like, it's just like the new school, old school debate. I don't really, like, people ask for opinions, and who cares about my opinion? Yeah. I'm just one person. The whole amoeba of Olympic style Taekwondo is going to evolve with or without me, and I might as well just learn how to evolve. I'd rather show my students that even though I've been doing it for so long, that I still can adapt, I can learn, I can humble myself, and I'm not saying I like it. I'm just saying I'm willing to do it.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
I would say I'd call it fate, because honestly, if you probably wouldn't have been working on punches with your combinations that day, I may not have stayed the whole time.
Oh, really? Okay.
Honestly,
wow.
That was one of the first things that stood out to me and made me like, oh, this is cool. Because like I said, like, my instructor's like that. We're like 50-50 hands and feet. And we've always been that way. That's why that's the first thing I noticed. I'm like, oh, I definitely want to stay and watch more of this. So
yeah,
it worked out.
It's a lot of goofing off on YouTube. I mean, I think I was just telling my students, like, this is the best time to learn Taekwondo. Like, I remember in the 90s, right? You couldn't even get a video.
Yeah.
I don't know if your listeners do Olympic style. Like, I remember in turtle press video, like everyone's mind just blew, right? Do you remember that turtle press video? Like, no one, it was, oh my God, this is so cool. And then Muto kind of had videos with like the finals, right, of the World Championships, but it wasn't like, you didn't see like the like the preliminary rounds or the quarters, any of that, right? And so I just remember like Taekwondo videos being so hard to get, and now it's like you can stream anything, right? So you know, the only thing that requires it is that you do it, right? And that's like with any subject, right? It's not necessarily just Taekwondo related.
Yeah, and I don't remember. It was like 95 or 96. My best friend that I met through Taekwondo. I don't remember where he got this, but he got himself a VHS of one of Juan Moreno's fights. That was the first time I had heard of Juan Moreno at the time. And we watched that thing because he was doing this like quadruple kick thing and stuff, and we were just blown away. Of course, then we'd go to the gym and try to learn it ourselves and fail miserably. But
yeah, no, I hear you. I hear you. No, but you know that. I mean, that goes to show that, you know, Taekwondo is evolving as much as anything else. You know, and you know, I'm just wanting to give my. You know, I just kind of feel like a parent where I don't really care if that means me, but if I can just keep them, if I can help them be a little more successful, then I need to adapt too.
That's cool.
You know, I think a good coach is that way too. Like I particularly like sparring, but I noticed that my students had a real big love for Poomsae and demo. And I just kind of view it like a football coach where, you know, if we can run the spread option, we're going to run the spread option. But if we don't have the players, we're going to run the power I. You know, like I kind of, and I think that's what a good coaches do, is that they just are adaptable, just like any other thing. And I think, I mean, any good companies, right? You can talk about Blockbuster never evolved, right? Kodak never evolved. They're out of business. And, you know, good companies, good schools, good whatever, insert institution, tend to evolve every 5 years and change. Right. Or you're going to die, right? Your company will die eventually.
Yeah.
And so I always kind of look for what can we do to improve? How can we improve? And how can we build the culture to be better? That's really where a lot of my energy spent.
I like that. So over your years of martial arts, have you ever done any weapons training? And if so, what's your favorite weapon to train with?
Yeah, I'm definitely not, what's his name, Jackson Rudolph, any of those guys. Yeah. I picked up nunchucks because I broke my fibula one summer and I couldn't kick for a summer, obviously, so I picked up chucks and that was it. Am I like a Ninja Turtle? No, hell no. No, dude, not even close. But if you gave me a pair of chucks, I could do like 3 or 4. It's like a party trick.
Yeah.
You know, like just enough to just look dangerous.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Now you mentioned being married to your wife. Now, does your wife study martial arts? Have you got her into it?
No. God, no. Oh no, I want to stay married, right? I don't have her. You know, she is the reason why I have the ability to be at the school so much. But I purposely, when I was looking to get married, I was purposely looking for someone that wasn't related to it.
Okay.
You know, I just wanted to kind of grow emotionally with someone that didn't, you know, sometimes I think like martial arts can be a little too incestual where like, oh, I met this person at a tournament and, you know, that's cool and everything. I'm not questioning that. But for me personally, I just wanted someone to have a completely different viewpoint on life than what I've done as a lifer with martial arts in general.
That makes sense.
And, I've seen couples train together and they're always like, what are you doing? Well, that's not how the teacher told me. Well, you're doing it wrong. And I want to stay married. So I kind of avoid that whole full stop.
Yeah. No, I get that. Yeah. My wife, after we started dating back in the day, she got into it for about a year or two and then kind of stopped. But yeah, I did get my mom. I got my mom into it though. My mom got into it when she was in her 40s and got her black belt.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. No, that's excellent. No, I can't speak to that. I do love that she has more of it since she's not so part of the school, I do like that she has an objective viewpoint on stuff.
That helps, yeah.
With her job, she does a lot of work with the University of Minnesota with coaching managers and with diversity and equity. And she mentioned that, well, she coaches them and she does a lot of research on what makes good teams and good workplaces and what employees should do.
Right.
And I essentially just take a lot of the research that she shows the managers on how to coach, how to develop a culture. And instead of viewing it, I just replace the word employee with student, and I replace the word institution with Taekwondo school.
Right.
And, I've learned a lot of the research that makes good companies, places that people want to stay, is very relevant to Taekwondo schools.
Yeah.
And I only have one school, so, obviously my sample size isn't great. But, the thing that I really pride ourselves on is having a culture that's second to none.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool. So in all your years of martial arts, is there one philosophy you've learned that is at the top of your list?
Oh, man. I don't know. I don't know. That's a tough question. That's a tough question. Okay, let me ask you, with your guests, have you figured out, is there a general trend with your...
There's a lot of them that say something to the fact of like never giving up, perseverance, things like that.
Okay, so like the general run of the mill.
I mean, some get more specific, but that's probably what they all focus towards. And it's maybe said in different ways and stuff. But yeah, that's probably, I bet at least 30% of them are probably in that range.
Okay. Never giving up is a good one. I really just believe in a support system.
Nice.
I really believe in accountability and leading by example.
Mm-hmm.
I still train as much as my students. The other thing I picked up is I'm studying another language.
Oh, cool.
The way I view it is it's very similar to what Taekwondo is where you're not going to get great overnight. And languages are very similar in that growth pattern where you're going to look dumb. I think that's the reason why a lot of adults choose not to do martial arts, because they know that, their bodies are older, they're not as flexible, and they just kind of don't want to look dumb, and with my tutor, so I have to learn, I'm learning Korean right now.
Okay.
And my tutor is from China. And so I have to learn Korean and Chinese. So I'm practicing my second language while learning my fifth.
Wow.
So my brain sometimes goes, what the hell are you doing? And so, I remember the Korean conjugation is not as same as Mandarin or English.
Mm-hmm.
So I just remember I've been learning it for 7 months now. I just remember biffing hardcore the first 2-3 months, sounding like a kindergartner that I did good. Right? I mean, the things that we kind of laugh with kids.
Yeah.
And I just remember, okay, this is being a white belt. I am exactly a white belt, and that's okay.
That's cool.
Eventually in a year, I'll be more conversational. In 10 years, I will be more fluent than I've ever been. And so I kind of put my philosophy in okay, we need to just think of that trajectory.
Mm-hmm. That's cool.
It's not necessarily answering your question in that sense,
but
think
I did.
Leading by example is a big deal to me. And I told my students that it might not be with my front kick or my slide back round kick or my double knife hand, but I'm always looking for ways to flex that muscle so that it's not just me telling you what to do, but it's us practicing it together.
Cool.
Right? That's a really different mindset, right?
Yeah.
That's I think sometimes with, especially being master, Master Lee, I don't necessarily always like that title either.
Uh-huh.
But
that's a good thing though, because that's a humbleness, which is very important. So that's good.
I think power can really, I'm not saying I'm a bigwig or anything. I guarantee you, most of your listeners have never even heard of who I am. But to some, I just know power can be really seductive. And if I'm not really aware of how much control and stuff I have, I don't know, I feel kind of gross as a human. I don't think that has anything to do with business or Taekwondo, but just overall how, as a leader, what are you going to do?
Right.
Yeah.
I like it. It's a good answer. All right. Now this one, you've mentioned a few already, but worst martial arts related injury.
Oh, dude, easily ACLs, man.
Yeah.
Oh, ACLs, dude. Like, no question. But, like, here's the thing, right? When you tear your ACL, you find out if you have a good attitude.
Yeah.
Right? Because now your training went from, I need to practice a blah, blah, blah stance to, I need to make sure I do my rehab, prescribe what the PT tells me.
Yeah.
Right? And now, can you apply that same training philosophy to a more general life experience? And that, you know, at that time, it really sucked. I didn't want to hear it.
Right.
I thought it was bullshit, right? And right, but you know, as I get older, I'm like, oh my gosh, I've been practicing Taekwondo my whole life. Mm-hmm. Whether it be like, oh, you're practicing choreo or Taeguk 3, you really do practice martial arts in your daily life. You kind of, if you choose to view it that way, right? Yes. It's a choice. Yep. And I'm just really grateful I have that mindset where it was like, oh, I have been doing that. And I'm not saying it was fun to do all the rehab. I'm not saying it was great. Yeah. But I'm really grateful now that I'm approaching my 40s that I did do the rehab, that my knees are feeling that good. And I have the ability and the blessing to keep practicing this. That's cool. Yeah, I blew out my ACL the day before I turned 16 in high school gym class. Oh, and shit. I remember I hated the rehab at first. Oh, yeah. Because it was painful. Yeah. But I'm so glad I went through it because it taught me how to work out. I had never really done like weights and stuff before. So it taught me how to work out, which was good. And I've actually never had I've never had it repaired. I've been putting off complete reconstructive surgery for 30 years. Oh, man. You are a champion, man. I both times it was like I immediately was like, no, I have to get under the knife. I have to move forward. If I delay this anymore, I'm not going to be training. I'm not going to be, and I like to move, right? I one of my favorite activities is like literally just going on a walk with my wife. Nice. God, like as I get older, man, like those things you can't put a price tag on, you know? Agreed. And I just know that our goal is to travel the world, and I need both my knees for that. Yeah. And, I made a lot of promises to my wife about like our life goals as partners. And, she's realistic. She's a very realistic person, but I also want to keep my end of the bargain as much as I can since the day I met her. And, that definitely means my health for sure. Yeah. Yeah. All right. So what are your thoughts on like MMA and the UFC? Is that something you're a fan of? I am not a fan of the UFC. Okay. Like I should clarify, right? Because sometimes people take that a little too black and white that I'm not for MMA. I think MMA is super cool. I think like when you watch the training or have done the training, it's actually really fun. Yeah. What I don't like is it's essentially wrestling, right? The promos, the cutting, Brian, you're a butthead. Well, you know what? You're a butthead too. Yeah. Let's settle this on UFC 2000. Yep. Right? I don't like that. I really don't. Agreed. I think ONE FC does a better job at that. Yeah, ONE FC. But cool. Again, I sound like a casual. Okay, I don't watch the pay-per-views. Yeah. I don't know who the champions are. And I don't necessarily like the demographic that UFC draws from. Mm-hmm. It's just a lot of meathead. Don't get me wrong, there are martial artists that watch it for the sake of martial arts. Yes. But from what I can tell, again, it's not much. So you got to take it with a grain of salt. It's just guys that just want to beat the shit out of someone. And they're a little insecure about themselves. And martial arts isn't about that. There is that physicality, and then no one would ever question that. But I don't know if I don't know if I can really support all that, Yep. But I do think it's cool that there are avenues for martial artists to make a living that's not necessarily opening a school. Right. But I can't do that. I don't, it's a little too bro for me. Yeah. Oh, I get it. Trust me. I used to be a diehard fan, and that's what kind of drew me away from it. So I completely agree. So. Nice. Like I get it. I get what they're trying to do. They're trying to sell a ticket, right? Mm-hmm. Like it's effective way. It's an effective way to get the masses. Yeah. I just don't like. I wouldn't want to say that. Like if I ever, if I had a magical wand and I was part of the UFC, unless I was told that I had to, I probably wouldn't cut a promo like that,
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
No, that makes sense. All right. I have a few fun questions we use to wrap up the interview.
Sure.
Now, this one, we were just talking about the UFC. Like I said, not a fan, but let's say you decided you were going to compete in an MMA match. I want to know what's your walk-up music? What song's playing as you're walking into the cage?
Oh, man. I have no idea. If I'm going to be funny, if I were to be funny, hey, man, I'd probably do like an old-timer song, like the Carpenters.
Nice.
Like, right? Like, I would do something so lame that, like, Gen Z wouldn't even know what hit them. Like, I would do, oh, man, for your older listeners, I'd hit them with Bread.
Nice.
Okay? Right? Like, I already can hear them giggle. Or I would do, like, Peter, Paul, Mary.
Yeah.
Right? Peter, Paul, Mary, something really old like that. But if I want to be hardcore, I don't know. Oh, man.
What about, I don't know the name of the song, but what about the song they played during the training montage from Best of the Best? That'd be a good one.
Sure. Yeah, I don't know. I would probably go with, I can't even say it. I don't know. I'd have to think about it. That's a good question. I mean, I assume a lot of your listeners and your guests have said like something AC/DC-esque.
It's such a range. I mean, theme from Rocky. Honestly, one of my last like 2 episodes ago, my guest said Barry Manilow, and he was dead serious. He's like, I love Barry Manilow. I'm like, okay. So and I've heard like 80s hip hop and hard rock and Metallica.
Yeah, I would do something like that.
Yeah.
If I'm going to be hardcore. But I unfortunately, I don't know if it's unfortunate to my students. It's a little unfortunate. I like to give them secondhand embarrassment with all the Gen Z slang.
Yeah.
I will no cap them and on Skibbity, and I love how embarrassed they are. I love collecting the Gen Z tears.
That's awesome.
Sometimes I don't know if I actually teach them Taekwondo. I think I just more entertain them with how, like, my shtick is more like a dim-witted uncle. I'm not necessarily like this wise sage. Like, the way I kind of view it is like, when you hear Master Lee, you think of Shifu from Kung Fu Panda, and then they walk through the door and they got Po. Right? That's kind of what I kind of tell. If I had to like figure out an analogy of what I really am like, yeah, I have a serious side and I have a training side, but I'll just make up random stuff just to make them laugh.
That's cool. Hey, gotta make it fun. I like that.
Yeah.
All right, how about 3, 4, 5 names? Doesn't have to be 4, but 3, 4, 5 names you would put on your personal Mount Rushmore of martial arts.
Holy shnikes. Martial arts in general.
Martial arts in general. Like I said, a lot of people pick, obviously, like a Bruce Lee, Chuck Norris. A lot of people only pick their own instructors. A lot of people only pick movie people. It's completely up to you.
Man, that's tough. Like, obviously, Bruce Lee. Jackie Chan.
Nice.
See, I don't, like, dude, I don't... Like, to be honest with your listeners, I haven't watched a martial arts movie in years.
And they don't have to be movie people. You mentioned Juan Moreno earlier. I mean,
Juan Moreno, like Tony Groff from, like, I grew up idolizing that guy because he was a shorter fighter and he just kept fighting the heavier divisions. Juan Moreno, obviously, like, the times I've talked to him, he is beyond he's beyond my understanding of anything.
Yeah.
So, Juan, if you're listening to this, I am very impressed with who you are, and I really look up to what you do.
That's cool. Hopefully he's listening. That'd be good.
Dude, I said I have a little bit of imposter syndrome on this show, right? Like, oh, man. All right. I mean, I'm grateful. I'm not saying I'm not. It was just really a surprise. I've never done something like this, so...
I was very happy when he said yes, because I think I've had 3, 4 Taekwondo Olympic medalists on the show. So I was very impressed when I got him. Yeah, because I had Herb Perez, I had Lynette Love.
Okay.
Yeah, who were some of the OGs.
So you essentially had like the Hall of Fame on this show.
I've tried to. I mean, I'm still working on some more, and I tried to. Obviously, I haven't had Chuck Norris yet, but dare to dream.
Oh, okay. I guess I would say Bruce Lee, Jackie Chan. I would put the whole, like, the movie Best of the Best.
Nice.
Oh, you know what? Something funny for your listeners. I probably put Last Dragon on there. Let's put Ty Mock on there.
Nice.
Even though Ty Mock never, ever did another movie again.
Yeah.
Dude, Ty Mock don't kill me, all right? Like, I've seen, like, Ty Mock probably kick my ass still.
I'm trying to get him on the show. So
Really? Ty Mock?
I'm trying.
Oh, sweet. Okay. Yo, Ty Mock, man. No, Shonuff died, didn't he? The actor died.
I think so. Yeah, I believe so.
Oh, man. He's also, all right, for your 90s babies, Shonuff was Angela's dad in Boy Meets World. So, fun
Really?
tip for all you 90s.
How
Yes.
did I not know that? Wow.
He Shonuff, yes, the Shogun of Harlem.
That's awesome.
Apparently had a daughter in Boy Meets World named Angela. Okay. And they were friends with Corey Matthews and Sean Hunter.
That's so awesome.
So for all your listeners out there, that's right. Shonuff, the Shogun of Harlem, had a child on a different show.
That is cool. I need to go rewatch that now. That's awesome.
Yeah. No,
Okay.
I think I'd probably be it. You know,
Okay.
like
Yeah, it's a good Mount
or, like,
Rushmore. I like it.
what's another one? I assume you get Kung Fu Hustle a lot.
Oh yeah. Some people talked about that.
Kung Fu,
Yeah.
right? Shaolin Soccer.
Yeah.
Any of the Hong Kong movies are good.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I would probably. That's probably like my Mount Rushmore of stuff. So,
Cool. I like it. All right.
Yeah.
How about a favorite
Yeah.
martial arts book?
oh, martial arts book, Bruce Lee's book.
Tao Jeet Kune Do?
Oh man, yeah, Dao Jeet Kune Do, man. Like
Nice.
that's that he is beyond his time.
Yeah.
Bruce Lee was, I literally try and apply a lot of the philosophies that he's talked about in my Taekwondo school. The daily reduction,
Mhm.
right? Like nowadays, like influencers are talking about that, but like, I don't know if a lot of people know that Bruce Lee had a degree in philosophy, right?
Yeah.
That's like he really inspired me. If I'm talking about people that I never knew,
Mhm.
it'd probably be him, you know, besides like my parents and like, you know, the people that I surround myself with.
Yeah.
I would probably say he was just beyond his time, you know, and granted, I've heard the thing about, well, what if he was still living? Would his legend still be as strong?
I think
You know,
so.
and I don't know if we can ever answer that. You know, I think it's his personality. It's this aura, right? I think aura does matter with people, you know, beyond the expertise. Like the way I kind of view it is, you know, hypothetically, if your daughter ever came to my school, like, yeah, I know people check credentials and stuff, and that's cool. But if I was abusive to your daughter or your son, you would be like, well, this is over.
Yeah.
Right? There's no argument to, well, I'm really good at Taekwondo. No, you're not. Like, well, maybe you are, but I don't trust you with my daughter.
Yeah.
And that's what I try really to have my students understand that, you know, like when we go to tournaments, everyone's still doing Taeguk 5, right? It's not like our version of Taeguk 5 is so secret that no one will ever know, right?
Mhm.
And, you know, I mean, you even saw what I was teaching. It's not to the general Taekwondo sphere. It's probably like, oh, okay, yeah, we do that at our school too.
Yeah.
You know, what I really strongly tell them is like, we do well because we're the most connected school. I really focus on soft skills as a instructor.
That's good.
How can we become a better school? Like what we do at the end of class, we don't actually, I know I'm like sacrilege to like the Taekwondo purists, but I don't even bow in or bow out. Okay, so at the end of class, we usually do a team cheer. So instead of bowing out, I know like traditionally you're supposed to bow in and bow out. I thought it'd be kind of cool if we did a group cheer, kind of just to, I don't know, just bring morale to after a class. I don't know if it's going to come out in the audio. I'll just explain the words right now. It's together, we're better. Together, we grow. Together, we're better. Together, we go. And then we say through thick and thin, together, we win. Okay. Does that work?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right. Let me put them on speaker and then we'll try this. Okay. Together! 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 You're thick and thin! All right, you get that?
I did. That's awesome.
Okay, cool.
Cool.
All right. I know. Sorry, traditional Taekwondo. Please don't kill me. Please don't kill me in the comments, all right? I do check-ins. At the end of the class, we do something like, one of the check-ins is, I'm grateful for blank, right? And you fill in blank, right?
Okay.
I'm grateful for my lunch today. I'm grateful for Taekwondo today, right? I'm just making up some answers. But the point of it was that I needed to teach them mindfulness and appreciation. And that's beyond any knife hand strike you can ever teach a kid.
Right.
And I just want them to have appreciation for how good their lives are. You know, if you're learning Taekwondo or you're learning a martial art, your parents probably really care about you and really want you to learn like something good for you and equip you for like your adulthood.
Yeah.
And so that's what I try my best to, you know, and I'm also grateful too. Like, shit, dude. Like, I feel like I'm not saying this is great. Like, I'm rich beyond my means, but I feel like I hit the NFL, right? I get to wake up and do what I love every day. I'm not saying they're perfect days. I'm just saying that, you know, I tell my students that pain you have about getting up from school because you don't want to.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily remember that feeling.
Okay.
You know, I do know it existed, but, you know, I'm an idiot if I can't see the blessings I have. You know, I mean, you've seen my school. It's humble to some of the mega schools in America, you know, but I don't know necessarily if they're really that happy, right? I've also learned just because you have 300 students, I don't know if you're really happy, right? At the end of the day, when you're alone with your own thoughts, are you telling yourself, I'm really happy, or are you chasing the next thing? And that's when I had to kind of view it myself too. My wife asked me that question, when is it enough? And when I answered it, I was like, oh my God, it's never enough. And I went, okay, I need to reassess who I am as a human.
That's cool.
You know, I have to think about that too, right? Yeah. And that type of aura really, just like Bruce Lee, that type of aura can really trickle to my students.
Yeah.
And and I have to be really mindful of that as well.
Nice.
So, I mean, sorry to talk your ear off, dude. I'm
good.
sorry, man.
I like it.
I know you were like, dude, don't feel like you can't talk too long.
Exactly.
So I'm really trying my best to
I like it.
Give you as much things to edit and, you know, yeah.
It's good.
But a lot of it is, it's just they've taught me more about life than, you know, just like, I mean, it's a very generic answer that teachers tell you, right? Oh, the students have taught me more than the subject I taught them. And that definitely holds water for my experience as a Taekwondo instructor.
Yeah. All right. I got a few more quick ones here. Favorite martial arts video game? Did you ever get into video games?
Video game. Oh, dude, Street Fighter all day.
Nice.
Street Fighter, man. Is that a lot? A lot of people do Street Fighter?
I'd say Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat, and Tekken are the three most picked.
Yeah. Okay. Tekken 2, right? Because there's like Hwadong, right? And Peck in Tekken. Street Fighter, though, man, took my heart. Fei Long came on. Dude, it was over. I mean, I liked Ryu. I liked Ken. But then Street Fighter 2 Turbo came. That's right. 90s kids are like, oh, man, this guy's super cool. And like, boom. I love, dude, T-Hawk was on that one. And Cammy. Dude, that was over. It was over. And I love Street Fighter Alpha. I'm a big fan of Akuma. But yeah, that would probably be my favorite one. Yeah.
All right. How about martial arts TV show favorite?
TV show. I think they're all really, to be honest with you, I think they're all really not great.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, even some of the new ones like Into the Badlands or Warrior.
Dude, I can't. Okay. To answer your question, just to answer your question.
Yep.
Dragon Ball Z all day. Son Goku.
Okay. When
it comes to TV show, like, let's just be real. A lot of the acting, no one's winning an Academy Award. Right? Yes, they are talented martial artists, probably better than me, but, you know, maybe I'm getting too jaded. Maybe I'm too old and I'm too jaded. I'm like, really? This is acting? You know, like, I'm not saying I know how to act. I'm just saying, right? Like, you kind of know, like, Daniel Day-Lewis isn't going to star in the next martial arts movie, right?
Right.
You know, and
hope not.
I hope God that, man, I don't know what happened to him. That's just my opinion. But if I'm going to a TV show, it'd be a cartoon. But like when it comes to like like I still have not seen Cobra Kai.
Oh, wow.
I know it sounds weird.
Wow.
You know,
I love Cobra Kai.
I can't. I feel like there's a lot to watch. And if
Yeah.
I keep watching martial arts, I'm not going to grow as a human.
I get that.
And if I don't grow as a human, my students, my wife, the people surrounding me don't get a better human being.
Yeah. I was going to say, if you haven't watched Warrior yet, give it a shot.
Okay.
I don't know what
That's
you know.
on Showtime, man.
It's on Netflix now.
Okay.
And I don't know if you know much about it, but it's Shannon Lee, Bruce's
Who's
daughter.
in it? Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Shannon Lee.
I didn't know that.
She created the show from Bruce's original notes from the early 70s. It was a show he pitched to the network in the 70s, and they shot it down.
Okay, so that's it. That's like what Kung Fu the Legend was supposed to be.
Kinda, yeah.
Okay.
So yeah,
cool.
I actually got to interview one of the stunt coordinator, Brett Chan, from that show and talk about that stuff.
Okay, well then I will have to take your recommendation.
Yeah. I think you will like it. I really do. You'll have to let me know when you check it out. I binged like all 3 seasons in like 3 weeks, I think.
Sick.
It was really good.
Sick.
Fight scenes are absolutely amazing, and the acting's actually really good too. A lot of unknown actors, but it's phenomenal. Really good.
I'm okay with the unknown.
Yep.
It's just, if it's like, I don't know, maybe I got older and you kind of just know, oh, this is kind of shitty acting.
Yeah.
Once you kind of lost that attention, don't get me wrong, martial arts is cool. They are clearly better martial artists than I will ever be. But it's like, I can only watch so much martial. Like, if it was 2 hours of fighting, I'd be like,
yeah,
kind of bored, dude. What has the plot really continued? Am I invested in the characters?
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah. So, But that's really cool that Shannon Lee is. Have you tried to get her on your show?
I have, and I actually have a connection. I don't want to jinx it, but fingers crossed. A guest I just interviewed knows her, and
sweet,
and was gonna reach out. So fingers crossed. I would love it. I'd really love it.
Sweet,
yeah, so
sweet.
We'll I'll let you know if I get it. So, all right, this one you may have already answered earlier, but favorite martial arts movie? I'm assuming Best of the Best.
Best of the Best. Another one that I really, I would say anything with Zhang Ziyi, like the Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon was really cool.
Yes.
House of Flying Daggers.
Nice.
Kung Fu Hustle.
Yeah.
But if I'm going to go strictly, if I'm like on a random night at YouTube, I will like Google search Best of the Best, the fight scene between the Ree brothers.
So good.
With Tommy and Daehan. And for some reason, they got what's his name? Rashad.
Oh, yeah.
He's an Oregon Duck.
Rashad.
Oh, my God. Ahmad Rashad. I'm sorry, Duck fans. Dude, I'm sorry. I am so sorry.
The worst martial arts commentating in history, unfortunately.
Right. Exactly. They got Ahmad Rashad. They got Bob. Okay. This is for all you Eugene Oregonians. We got Bobby Moore to play a sports analyst for a Taekwondo movie.
Yeah.
Like, how did it make sense? And we got Darth Vader to coach the USA team.
That was
right. We got
James Earl Jones was awesome though. That was
right.
I mean, the locker room scene. A team is not a team unless you don't give a damn about one another. I mean, that gives me chills.
Oh, that's
I love
huge.
it. Love
right.
it.
We got Mufasa. To take a break from the Pride Lands to come coach Team USA.
Heck yeah.
I was like, all right. Or I would say Taimak. Best of, like. Oh. Yeah. That movie, I didn't know Barry Gordy made that movie as a kid.
Yep.
So the music in that, that last fight scene with Shonuff. We had The Last Dragon. Dude, that song. Oh, it's a hot song, man. Yeah, like, you clearly tell I don't know anything the kids listen to.
Hey, that's okay.
Like, I just, and I don't, oh God, I'm clearly jaded by the world. And yeah, that's probably...
All right.
Yeah, I would. Yeah,
I like it. All right, final question. This one doesn't have to be a martial arts movie. Any movie you've ever seen. Favorite movie fight scene.
Favorite movie fight scene. Oh man, favorite movie fight scene. Does it have to be?
Doesn't have to be martial arts.
Does it have to be an actual fight? Does it actually have to be a fight?
It depends what you consider a fight, I suppose.
Okay, I would say the Jack Nicholson, Tom Cruise scene in A Few Good Men, where you can't handle the truth, I want the truth, right? The Jack Nicholson soliloquy where he rants for a whole scene about you can't handle the truth, right? So awesome. Like,
yes,
son, this place start like I don't know it off the top of my head, but this place is guarded with guns, right?
Yep.
You want me on that wall. You need me on that wall,
So
right?
good.
That scene, right? If I'm talking, that's a fight, right? Another one.
Who's gonna do it?
Right.
You Weinberg.
You, Lieutenant Weinberg. You, right?
So
that. Oh man. Right. Exactly. Right.
That's a verbal fight, I would say. That's
exactly.
And
right?
one of my all-time favorite movies. So I love it.
Right. Exactly. It's a great movie, right? He ordered the code red.
That's right.
God, I can already hear your older listeners like, who is this schmuck? This is how I run class for your students. Like this is literally like, yeah, I tell them to kick and punch and stuff, but a lot of it is 90 references I go over an 8-year-old's head.
That's awesome.
And everyone giggles in the room but the 8-year-old. So that's like the shtick, the feng shui of my school.
Hey, all 3 of my kids throw out 80s references because that's how I raised them. So
boom, there we go. The other one would probably be Al Pacino in A Scent of a Woman and his speech where he has to defend Chris O'Donnell.
Nice. Okay.
That probably, that's holy cow, that speech is.
That's a good one. I like it.
That's a good fight. I don't know, not necessarily like physical fight, but I guess that metaphorical fight, like if I was half the man, I'd take a flamethrower to this place, right? That line.
I love it.
Yeah, I would say those are kind of the fights that to give your listeners a different take on what a fight is, I guess.
Hey, I like it. Great answer. Well, before I let you go, Matthew, is there anything I forgot to ask you, or we just want to be sure to get out there really quick? And and when the episode comes out, I'll put a link for your school and everything too. So
I don't know.
We covered quite a bit.
I don't know. Thank you for the opportunity. It was really shocking that, I clearly, it definitely buttered my roll a bit, right? Like, I was like, hold it, what? You want this schmuck? Hold it, you think I'm interesting enough to, like, be on a podcast?
Hey, your students are going to be impressed. Come on.
Yeah, I know it is cool. It's a great opportunity. I just really keep my head down and keep working. I don't necessarily like to. I was literally just telling my students, like, winning can be like rat poison, where it's just like, if you will just eat your own shit, and it's like, then all of a sudden you start not doing well, and it's because you kind of rested on your laurels. And, I really, even after nationals or any tournament or anything that I did wrong, I really do a lot of reflection on what I can do better. And even if we do well, I still ask the exact same question of, like, how can we improve? And I just want to say thank you to everyone at my school. Thank you for making it the best place. Thank you for all the support to my whole team. There's way too, like, I can't even name all of them, but all of them really inspire me to do more. To my parents, holy cow, I feel like I'm on the Oscars, right? I really just try and make my parents proud. That this chance to like my job ended up paying dividends 11 years into it, and I just really am grateful for everyone in my life, especially, to my wife, I am very proud to be your husband. I'm grateful for you being my life partner, and that, I want to continue to grow with you. And my success is really a lot of attributed to how much you support me, and I'm really grateful.
I love it. Well, seriously, this has been so much fun. I've loved learning about you and hearing your story, and hopefully we'll stay in contact and definitely pop in next time I'm down in the area. But I can't wait till the listeners get to hear this episode. I think they're really going to enjoy it.
Cool. Thank you very much. Everyday martial arts universe, I guess. Again, I've never done this, so don't kill me on the interwebs. I'm not. But thank you so much. I hope you guys, for however long this podcast is, that you were entertained. Maybe, at the last, I hope you got one good chuckle out of my poor jokes.
Thanks for listening to Everyday Martial Artist. We hope you will join us every week for a brand new episode with a different martial artist telling their story. If you enjoy the show, be sure to leave us a review. Also, be sure to check out our website at everydaymartialartist.com. There you can find all of our episodes and contact us to suggest guests and ask questions. Again, thanks for listening to Everyday Martial Artist, and we'll see you next week.
This podcast is a production of Unfiltered Studios. If you would like to know more about joining Unfiltered Studios, please visit our website at unfpod.com for more information.